Okay, hi, am I audible? What's up? Hi, Yashwant, how are you?
I'm fine. I hope you're fine also. Thank you for doing
Good,
this.
good.
For giving your time.
Hi,
Uh,
for sure.
Before we start, so one of my friend has similar questions. So I told him if you have no issues, so you can also join in.
Sure, sure, 100%.
So I
Anand,
can send him the link.
Anand, 100%. No stress. Anand. Always ready to help whoever wants to join. क्योंकि कैसा है कि it's
Yeah,
better if two people in the same half an hour session can, because इतने I can't open more than two slots a day otherwise.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought this was paid like ADP list, so
Hmm.
we paid or something.
Hmm.
And but today I had a real session with somebody, and I realized it's mostly out of goodwill, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%.
That's even better, right? Thanks. So before we start, there are a few things that I want to discuss today.
Hmm.
One thing is I want to get an idea of the rank landscape, right?
Hmm.
What marks get you where and how much.
Hmm.
And then second is I want to discuss what is the career path that I should take. I'll tell you a
Hmm.
bit about myself to give the whole chat a context, right?
Hmm.
And what I am expecting out of college, and then I'll show you a couple of projects. They are not
Hmm.
properly compiled yet. Right?
Hmm.
You judge instead of judging the independent projects, unless you have comments, judge should have put them in the portfolio and
Sure, sure.
do they actually say something
Hmm.
about me or it's just
Hmm.
waste, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And also like, why is he not joining? I forget. Let me join someone,
Okay.
right? And also some of the things that I'll be talking about is a bit sensitive. So I would like if they are not put online.
Sure,
Is
sure.
that an issue? No, right?
Yeah, sure, sure. That's okay. We can put that towards the end, whatever you want to talk about. We can do it towards the end. So I can stop the recording and then we can discuss whatever you want.
Cool. So first thing is I scored around 40 marks in section A,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I did section B decent, right? Matlab, I did not skip any question and I had have decent ideas. And isse pehle na, I did not see many videos ki how to attempt section B or what they
Mm-hmm.
are looking for. I
Mm-hmm.
only went through whatever the qualification criteria they were giving,
Fair
evaluation
enough.
criteria,
Fair enough.
right? And I think I'll be scoring around 12 marks per question. I don't know if it's very optimistic or not.
पार्ट ए में कितना आया?
40.
40. हाँ, okay. Decent.
Yeah.
Not bad. Very good. In terms of the
मतलब
paper, very good.
Yeah, मतलब I'm an architect to give it context थोड़ा सा पहले
हाँ,
से.
हाँ. Okay.
I studied in SPAB, SPA Bhopal.
Hmm.
Right, so थोड़ा so design का
You
background
must
है
be
इसलिए
knowing
it's
Saurabh sir then.
yeah, I was getting to it. But
Yeah,
he is the man which made me do architecture for
yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
So we will talk about him थोड़ा
Yeah.
towards the end, right? Yeah, he joined अभी ना,
Yeah,
right?
he just joined. Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing. I love him. Crazy
I
vibe.
love.
Love that guy. I love
Yeah.
him.
So he started the department at SPAB. Then he
Mhm,
joined IIT Delhi. He
mhm,
was there in my first year. He was our design teacher, first ever design.
mhm. Yeah, so
Very cool.
Niladri has joined.
Yeah, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Right. So like second thing is, yeah, I'll start with my portfolio now.
Mhm,
So just to give you a context, we both studied in SPAB, right? And me independently, other than architect, I also function or practice as a computational designer,
mhm.
right? So like, do you have an idea what a computational designer is?
No, explain.
Okay, so when architects start working with data and numbers, and rather than following a heuristic design process कि ये अच्छा
Hmm,
लगेगा और ऐसा कर
hmm,
सकते हैं, they
mhm,
start working with data and support their facts with data,
hmm,
right, or
mhm.
analysis or CFD analysis.
Yeah,
They sort of become computational designers,
yeah.
right? And then you can transfer these skills to other fields also, like shoe design or jewelry design, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So that's what I do. And now I'm transitioning towards. So my thing is that I am not happy with the conventional architectural model right now.
mhm,
I think
mhm,
a lot of skills that I am having as a computational designer can be leveraged into a better design space,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
To make more value or create more value, right?
Okay.
That's why I'm transitioning towards a space where I can work with tech also. And that's why I'm preferring to go to an IIT,
Mhm.
right? I'll start with my portfolio. I'll tell you whichever products I want to put in and
Sure,
why.
sure, sure, sure.
Cool. By the way, I also submitted them for the review.
Which review?
The Google Doc that you opened up for portfolio review, right?
Mhm, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I submitted to that also.
Yeah, you filled that, so I will review it there also.
Yeah.
No problem.
And I think it will be done here only, so you can skip.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my architecture portfolio, and
Mm-hmm.
I got my internship with the help of it. So
Mm-hmm.
one project that I'm planning to put in more graphic way in the
Mm-hmm.
IDC interview if I got in.
You are
Right?
interested in graphic interaction,
No,
product
interaction and
interaction,
communication.
and communication. So communication is graphic.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much. Okay. Okay. Cool. Continue. Continue.
So this is a project that I submitted in my third year, and this is it's a fashion pavilion basically, and it
Mm-hmm.
was one of the top 250 entries
Mm-hmm.
globally.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what it is, it's a fashion pavilion set in a public space in Madrid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was to use mirrors in a public space where people can see their body image being altered, right? And through just that reflection, they'll be put in a headspace of a person who is maybe fatter than them or smaller than them or shorter than them or taller than them, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
that few seconds, you can empathize or you can be in the place of a different body image and you can empathize with that person, right? So that was
Mm-hmm.
the idea behind this project. Okay, and especially if you come from a country like India, where essentially all your nicknames are some sort of body
Hundred
image
percent.
nicknames, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we were coming from. And so, yeah, this is the entry. Then another one that I'm planning to put. So this is an example of what a computational designer does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I instead of working like you, I think you showed a project where you were working with Fusion or SolidWorks, something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're richer,
Yeah.
right? So instead of working with geometries, we work with scripts.
Mm-hmm.
So this is visual coding.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've heard of this. Computational design बोलते हैं इसको मुझे आज पता चला, but I've heard of this. Yeah.
So this I might put like as a graphic that I generated towards the end of my portfolio.
Mm.
Okay, another project is this. So this is a professional project, right? And how I did this was basically this when I joined an internship. What we had to do was there was an art collector and he was making his home, and what he wanted was a facade out of the firm. Like so,
Okay.
I was trying a few iterations of that facade, but nothing was essentially working out. Right, we had a few meetings week after week, and nothing really panned out. So what I started doing was, since I was allowed to sit in client meetings, I started creating a persona of the client and my principal architect, right? I started looking at things they talk about or things they
Mm.
like
Mm.
and
Mm.
studied a bit about them. And
Mm.
from there, right, since this will be going online, so I'll refrain from speaking a lot of things. But from there, I picked up what can be shown that they might like. And from that, I came to these iterations. And funnily enough, within 1 week, this was approved then, right? And what it
Mm.
is, it's mapping of Ganga River on the facade of the building, and the
Mm.
building is located on the banks of River Ganga,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And then this
Interesting.
was a 3D model that we worked with,
Mm.
right? Another thing as an architect that I want to include is my thesis, but not the design part, essentially, because I don't think so they'll be looking for architectural design.
Yeah.
That does not make
Yeah.
sense.
Mm.
Is my research and me leading to my thesis or how I
Mm.
synthesized my research. That's what I want to include, right? So this is my thesis and I worked in Bombay, right? Or my thesis in Mumbai. I think
The
you,
local train देख के मेरे को पता चला कि वो बॉम्बे I'm from
yeah,
Bombay, that's why.
ha. Oh, so you, I think you will get this all also because you've been to Mumbai, right? You get it. Or you're
Mm.
from Mumbai, so
I
exactly.
live in Bombay, yeah. Mm.
Exactly. So the thing is, I started with looking at cities as a growth engines, right? Most of the people, even us, right, we are attracted to these big cities because there are more economic opportunities, right? You get
Mm.
to upgrade your lifestyle
Mm.
or
Mm.
get to engage with better things. That's why you
Yeah.
move to cities.
Mm.
And India being a very young nation, we have like majority of population under 34,
Mm.
right? And that is forming a majority chunk of our workforce.
Mm.
And if you look at it, they are being drawn to these 6, 7 major city centers, out of which I picked Mumbai because it is one of the highest GDP generating cities. It contributes
Mm.
up to 16% in terms of GDP, Indian GDP, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
I started looking at Mumbai. And if you like anybody who has been to Mumbai, you would realize how expensive survival in Mumbai is, right? Rents are crazy high, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
if you look at Mumbai has from a primary economy, it has transitioned to a secondary economy, tertiary economy, like going from
Mm.
a port city to cotton industry or cotton mills, and now IT sector or
Hmm.
tertiary
Hmm.
sector, basically,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So it attracts a certain type of people which are basically young, right? So I
Yeah.
was making a housing for them, right? So what you will see is my research on that and how I presented it in a very condensed format,
Hmm.
right? So this is whatever I was just saying, supporting that.
Yeah.
Right? Then I talk about how I selected my site in whole Mumbai, what were the parameters I was looking for, to why a certain site is suitable and why a certain site is not.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So I selected my site around BKC. Right.
Hmm.
So you know BKC, and
Yeah.
BKC
Yeah.
is a very posh area, right?
Very posh
The
area.
land there is crazy
Very
expensive.
expensive. Hmm.
Yes. And then another thing why I'm focusing on that fact, why BKC is expensive, is then I went into making a functional financial model for my project. How do I support our housing, so affordable housing at BKC, right? Because somebody has to fund it at the end of the day, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So in any design process, it always starts with you defining your design problem, and then
Hmm.
you start researching it. So this is how I defined my design problem. I went out, I started looking for government models or any other model, financial model that can help me build or propose this type of housing.
Hmm.
And I found this government scheme called Affordable Rental Housing Complex.
I know. Yeah. Hmm.
That's great. Then half of my work is done in terms of explaining it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I formed all of my design brief according to that
Yeah. Smart.
scheme properly, so that I
Hmm.
can propose it there, right? So that was half my research then, and then I started coming up with concepts. Basically, what things will be shaping my design moving
Hmm.
forward,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And how I will be achieving them. So then this is a bit of study about Mumbai, went to
Hmm.
history of
Hmm. Hmm.
Mumbai,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Some things I was doing to make it affordable. Then since it will be for younger generation, right? Yeah, by younger I mean Gen Z and millennials, right? So I had to make it something that is attractive for them. So I did a user study about
Hmm.
100 people, right? And wrote a research paper, which is pretty common for our course, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
out
Hmm.
of that, I had a few key points that I would include in my
Hmm.
design.
Hmm.
Lastly, a couple of more design drivers, right? So this was my final list. Again, when this is a bit architectural, so I
Then
won't.
हाँ हाँ architecture पे चले जाएगा.
Ha. This I would still talk about it a bit, because now here, instead of just taking my site and drawing my design out of it, I'm doing it computationally. I'm making a system wherein you feed a certain part of data and you
Mm-hmm.
get the output, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
permissible throughout any site that
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
provide data for,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then finally, this is my design synthesis, a couple of sketches of how I'm achieving those things, right? Uh, and the last thing that I want to talk about is, so you know P5JS or processing, like, as a software that they exist.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, question. No idea.
Okay.
Is architecture specific? Is this like what you use in
No, 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 no.
no?
So
Okay.
I am sort of a big proponent of you learning to how to code, or
Yeah.
learning how to
Mm-hmm.
go through data at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it gives you a huge leverage of you. It opens up a lot of things that you can do, right? So I am starting to learn that, or like dwell into that. So there's a thing called fractal or L systems, right? So I started making artwork around that, and this is essentially made through coding, right? So I write a bunch of code that gives me that output, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
that. And what fascinating to me is, like, somebody sat in a room and decoded how do you imitate plant growth on a screen, right?
Oh.
And this algorithm, this simple algorithm is used in every rendering software ever that you see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every, like, and this is very basic, but the applications are humongous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from learning that, then I started doing some data visualization. So I'm still working with open source data. So sea
Yeah.
level change is pretty easily available, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
started making some dynamic visualizations around that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one is this, and then another one is this one. I think the audio is not available, but
No, no, I
added
can
like
figure it out. Hmm.
AI audio into this. Like, there are
Mm-hmm.
AIs that make audios for it.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is what I'm planning to include as of now. Other than a UX project that I'll start working on now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So, Yashwant, first of all, very good. I'm very
yeah,
impressed. A lot of people, I see a lot of portfolios. I see a lot of architects showing me their work. I see a lot of, let me put it this way. There is a difference between the work you do and the way you show your work. Okay. The work you do is depending on whatever your motivation is, how much effort you have put in, how much time you have put in. But the way you present your work comes in two ways: how you make a presentation and how you talk about your work, and what is the flow and structure of how do you present what you're presenting, what's first, what's next, etc. So very good with your presentation, very good with the work you've done, and a lot of effort has been put in learning a lot of things which you have done, which I don't usually see architects doing. So I can only already see a standout. अगर कोई on the other end jury पे बैठा है, let's assume that there's a faculty or a employer, so that standout effect is already there. So very happy to see amount of work you've put in. I kind of see that reflection because I was also like you in my BTech. I do a lot of new things जिसमें मैं comfort zone के जो बाहर है, which is a very good thing.
yeah.
It helps a lot, right?
Mm.
So I'm really glad to see you've done that. So I have, if I have to give you good constructive feedback, there are two things I want to tell you. Number one is that don't put a lot of architectural work. ठीक है, उसके दो रीजंस है. ठीक है, एक पहला रीजन ये है कि there is a difference between, how do I put it in the most cautious way possible. अगर एक आर्किटेक्ट है जिसको डिजाइनर बनना है, there's a lot of unlearning that happens. There's a lot of unlearning that has to happen. Same thing goes for engineers. When you become a designer, after me, I was an engineer, there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen. है ना? So I don't want anybody who is on the other end to feel that you're too inclined towards your architectural work. Now, this comes from another pre-context that it depends on your rank. And this is, I'm being very honest here. If your rank is very good, let's say top 50, top 20, top 30, let's assume your rank is that good because your part B you're saying has gone very well, then it doesn't matter. Your portfolio matters, no doubt, but it's like 80% the job is done because of the rank. It's just
Okay.
abhi kaun si IIT milegi is the question. The rank is going to sort most of your stuff out because rank is important. Now, let's say you come in the tier 2 rank stages above 100, where now your
Yeah.
portfolio becomes like a 50-50 or more than 50 also for IDC, let's say, or IIT Guwahati Delhi. है ना? उसमें, then I would suggest, if you're going for interaction, I always talk about these things कि intent बहुत important है. तुम्हारा skill set से तुम्हारा mindset important है ना? I am like that. My skill set is not the best. You will find much better designers than me out there. But I have a very strong mindset on how I do my work, what kind of work I do, why I do my work. है ना? So that is very good. That is strong. Your intent has to be very strong, which it is. Now, your projects, which you will showcase, the only main thing you have to focus on is the why. Whatever projects you showed me, the thesis still has a considerable amount of thought behind it of why you chose a problem like that. The other problems also need to have very strong why, and that why has to be validated. See, you are going to apply for an MDes course. I tell this to a lot of people. तुम जब पढ़ाई वाले कोर्स के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो ना, तो तुम्हारा माइंडसेट और तुम्हारा स्किल सेट दोनों में माइंडसेट इज मच मोर प्रेफरेबल बिकॉज स्किल सेट तुम सीख लोगे. 2 साल का एमडेस है ना, तुम सीखोगे ना कुछ तो you'll keep learning more software, you'll keep learning more skills, you'll keep learning what kind of projects to do. But again, your mindset is more important. What kind of a student and what kind of a designer will you become? That has to be much more reflective in your portfolio and your interview other than how what work you do. तुमने कितना कितना डेप्थ में काम किया है, कितना स्किल दिखाया है, कितने सॉफ्टवेयर आते हैं, what kind of screens have you made, what kind of mockups have you made. It's important, but your mindset is much more important. So I would suggest that you have to have, when you're presenting, don't focus more on your work that you have done. Focus on why you have done this project and validate that why. And that's only going to happen by UCD, which is user-centric design. That is one of the most important things any designer needs to have in mind. You see any of my projects on Behance, user हमेशा बीच में घुसा हुआ है.
True.
यूजर से बात होते रहता है, यूजर का फोटोज दिखते रहता है, यूजर ने क्या बोला, क्यों बोला, कैसे बोला. It's very important. Whatever, now for example, let's say that mirror project which you showed of body reflections, right? Why have you done that project? Who told you that they need something like this? Who has I'm not saying I don't need an answer right now. I'm just telling you to think about it.
Mhm.
This is how someone will look at our project. क्या यशवंत ने ये project क्यों किया है ना? What, for example, one of the videos I put in on YouTube, ADP session था 2-3 दिन पहले. I put in a guy who had faced a accident. He hit a dog on the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, I saw.
You saw that?
Yeah,
So the why is very important. वो एक स्टोरी बिल्ड करता है कि यार मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ, तो मैंने, तुम डिजाइन जब पढ़ोगे ना यहाँ पे, तो प्रॉब्लम्स आइडेंटिफाई करना इज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट चैलेंजेस दैट वी फेस। मेरे को आता है फिग्मा, है ना, मेरे को फोटोशॉप इलस्ट्रेटर एज अ डिजाइनर आ सकता है, बट मैं एक प्रॉब्लम क्यों उठा रहा हूँ, दैट टेल्स अ लॉट अबाउट माई इमेज, अबाउट मी, माई पर्सनैलिटी, माई कैरेक्टर. Why are some people very good at dark humor? Why are some people very good at tragedy when they're making illustrations, when they're making, posters? You always see people who've gone through pain will show pain, है ना? So the why is very important. What kind of projects you
Yeah.
do makes a, so कैसा होगा ना?
I
I'll tell you how the thought process is. There'll be somebody who look at your portfolio who doesn't know who you are, who's not spoken to you, and इनका 20-25 साल का experience है professors faculty का, है ना? By seeing that portfolio, they'll make an image of what kind of a person or what kind of a character you are, just by looking at what kind of work you have done. And then in the interview, they will verify that if your work is very vibrant and very मतलब ऐसे अच्छे colors है, like you see my portfolio, it's very vibrant, lots of characters, colors, big fonts, boldness, vibrancy, and then when you meet me, I also talk full energy, तो match होता है. If I'm sitting like एकदम, sir, I did this because मुझे ये पसंद है. It doesn't match. So that happens. It's a very psychological thing, but it happens. And as a designer, ना यशवंत, there's going to be a time where you have to set a theme for yourself. मेरा theme एक set है. अभी भी set हो रहा है. That I have a business angle in every portfolio, every project I do. I try to include business. I try to include my model. How will I make money out of this? How can you make this into a sustainable, startup, something like that? इससे तुम्हारा फायदा पैसे में क्या होगा, कंपनी को फायदा क्या होगा, यूजर्स को फायदा क्या होगा, मॉनिटरी एंड नॉन मॉनिटरी. सो मेरा एमबीए वाला दिमाग घुसता है उसमें. तो व्हाटएवर प्रोजेक्ट्स यू सी ना, नाउ इट्स बिकम लाइक अ स्टैंडर्ड. पीपल से मेरा प्रोजेक्ट, ये पैसे वाला बात तो धनीश ही कर सकता है, ये पैसा घुसा था सब जगह पे. दैट्स हाउ पीपल टॉक, बिकॉज एक इमेज बन गया है ना. आई आल्सो हैव अ फ्रेंड हु आई टोल्ड, वो भी एक सेशन में बोला था मैंने कि शी वर्क्स ओनली ऑन डॉग्स, शी लव्स एनिमल्स. So all our projects are towards interaction app हुआ, it might be a physical product, it might be a poster. It's going to be around animals. She loves animals. तो एक थीम सेट है यार, इसके ये आइडियाज, ये प्रोजेक्ट्स यही एरिया में जाते हैं. शी इज वेरी कंपैशनेट, वेरी सेंसिटिव, शी इज अ वेरी हार्ट वार्मिंग पर्सन. ऐसा are you understanding what I'm saying? वो why
yeah,
ना,
yeah.
why बहुत important. This is what I want to tell you.
So, matlab, one part that I wanted to talk about off the record was about this, right?
हाँ.
Because I also matlab, want to talk about an idea, because I remember when in that last session, right, that person, I forgot his name, sorry. So he talks about why he's working on an app that helps
Yeah,
like stray
yeah,
animals whenever they are
yeah,
hurt,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It gives you an opportunity. Because he had his reason, right? Matlab, he went through something and he saw a gap, right? And I have seen other problems or other portfolios also
Sure, sure.
where
So
there's even
before we go off the record, this is just for, see, my point is people need to, whatever I'm saying right now, no, I say this to a lot of people. So I'm trying to record, compile, upload, so everybody can have like a basic information.
yeah.
So before we stop the recording, may a basic review, not for you, for everybody else's. Your presentation is very good. The way you talk about a project is very good. Like two very good big positives. You have very good communication skills, which is a very big plus for a designer. People are not confident while they talk about the project, which is a, I feel it's game changing. जब तुम एक प्रोजेक्ट एक्सप्लेन करते हो, the way you talk about it, the passion, the amount of structure, the story, the flow, it's very important. Trust me, I'm from drama background. I've done theater. I do theater here also. I understand how important communication is. So very good plus Yashwant for that. Research, I want, like I tell this to everybody, photos चाहिए. तुमने यूजर्स से बात की है, कोई प्रोजेक्ट किया, उसमें तुमने वो प्रोजेक्ट यूजर्स ने तुम्हें कहाँ ये हिंट, इनसाइट है, इन्फ्लुएंस दिया. इन आर डीपीज, इन आर जूरीज, वी गेट बैंग्ड ऑन दैट टॉपिक ओनली. किसने बोला कि ये प्रॉब्लम है? तुमने प्रोजेक्ट क्यों किया? तुमको अगर अपने स्किल्स शो ऑफ करना है तो करो ना यार. तुम रेंडर, आई कैन मेक द बेस्ट रेंडर इन द वर्ल्ड ऑन ब्लेंडर एंड शो इट लाइक अ प्रोडक्ट, बट किसी को चाहिए ही नहीं, वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व भी नहीं करे. सो सी, लास्ट थिंग आई से, जो मैं बहुत लोगों को एग्जांपल देता हूँ, विटामिन वर्सेस एस्पिरेंट्स, है ना. तुम लाइफ में मल्टीविटामिन कितनी बार खाते हो एक साल में? एक बार, दो बार? मैं हार्डली. क्रोसिन कितनी बार खाते हो? बहुत बार. Exactly.
Yeah.
So crosins are always going to work much more than vitamins. I understand vitamins are important, but crosins दुनिया में चलती है. तुम किसी को एक गेन क्रिएट करोगे ना, उससे ज्यादा उसको पेन रिलीफ में ज्यादा मजा आएगा. तुम किसी का प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करोगे, उससे वो बहुत ज्यादा हिट करेगा, देन से कि ये तुम्हारा एक्सपीरियंस इंप्रूव करेगा. सो वट एवर प्रोजेक्ट्स यू चूज ना, अगर तुम यूएक्स प्रोजेक्ट भी करना चाहते हो, या तुम्हारा आर्किटेक्चर का भी, आई वुड सजेस्ट थीसिस डालो. थीसिस इज अ गुड प्रोजेक्ट विच यू डन. उसका मेरे को, आई लव द आइडिया, मतलब आइडिया काफी सही जो तुम करना चाह रहे हो, है ना. that is good. It can be a little bit more research heavy. You can include conversations with people from Mumbai. You can include what other people have to say. And again, it's very simple to test your idea. Just set up Google Meets with 10 different people who had some relevance in terms of what you're doing. Show them your project, explain to them, get feedback, and put it in your process. That यार मैंने ये करके छोड़ नहीं दिया, ये मेरा प्रोजेक्ट है मैंने छोड़ दिया नहीं, इसको टेस्ट किया है, लोगों से बात की है, फीडबैक लिया, improvements, changes, very important as a designer. So do that. And other architecture projects, I would not suggest के put all of them. एक आधा चल जाएगा. मेरा ratio, if I have to suggest somebody ना, you're applying for a particular stream which is interaction design, है ना, have majority of those projects. You can put your architectural profile, your project with a thesis 100% डालो क्योंकि वो तुम्हारा architecture का काम है, but include another 2 projects for UX specifically, because again they want to see intent. तुम्हें यूएक्स में जाना है, तुम्हें यूएक्स में प्रोजेक्ट ही नहीं किया है, तुमने समझा ही नहीं कि कैसे होता है, तुम खुद से करो, गलती करो, फेल हो जाओ, चलेगा, वेरी गुड, तुमने ट्राई किया है, इट शोज इंटेंट. तुम तो आगे सीख लोगे ना एमडेस में आगे जाके क्या करना है, बट यू शोन इंटेंट, यू स्टार्टेड ऑलरेडी बिफोर यू कमिंग हियर, है ना. माय वाइब वाज कि व्हेन आई वेंट फॉर द इंटरव्यू कि मैंने अपने हिसाब से किया है, ठीक है, मैं खुद करके सीख रहा हूँ. आईआईटी नहीं भी मिला तो मैं खुद सीख के और कर लूंगा, आई विल फिगर इट आउट. दैट इज हाउ आई एम. आई वांट टू, इट्स नॉट लाइक ओ माय गॉड आईआईटी नहीं मिला आई डाई, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. I have started on my own. I've come here on my own. I'm self-made. मैं figure out कर लूंगा आगे. तुम्हारे साथ थोड़ा मेरे को help मिल जाएगा. That was my vibe. I didn't say all this. ये मेरा vibe था interview when I was talking about my work. So you have to give that a priority. UX a priority. Work on 2 projects. You have time. You have at least Feb and March पूरा महीना है, तो एक महीने में एक प्रोजेक्ट आराम से होता है. हम हफ्ते में प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट करते हैं. हम लोग डिजाइन स्प्रिंट्स 2 दिन के होते हैं. कंपनी आती है प्लेसमेंट इंटर्नशिप के लिए, टास्क देती है, पूरा प्रोजेक्ट 2 दिन में चाहिए, पूरा प्रोजेक्ट एंड टू एंड, ideation to mockups to presentation, everything. BCG, I created 3 projects in 24 hours, 48 hours. It's very, very
That was
fast.
3 projects.
So they had asked for 1 final idea and some ideation. I gave them 3 final ideas. I presented 3 companies instead of 3 ideas. I went on a little venture side. मैं 3 कंपनीज प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूँ और मैं 48 आवर्स में सोया ही नहीं था. आई मेड श्योर दैट आई विल शो देम समथिंग दैट वो कभी देखे नहीं होंगे किसी के पोर्टफोलियो में. You have to have that amount of radical thinking. So 2 months is more than enough. Industry doesn't work like that कि हाँ तुम लो ना 2 महीना ideation के लिए सोचो research करो, नहीं, it doesn't work like that. Finish your research as soon as you can, get your insights and start working. And iterate. That's how it works. है ना? So this is all on the record for everybody who's going to watch this video later on for specifically your portfolio feedback. And let me end the recording. Thank you so much for coming here. Now we can talk off the record.